All right, I think I got this finally set up correctly. So we'll go ahead and get this kicked off. This is my first live stream on this YouTube channel. So if you are coming and watching this later, I'll have it recorded for you so people can watch it later. And I just want to welcome everybody first and foremost. So I will have chat enabled if anybody wants to ask any questions, provide any feedback during the talk. And so I want to take a time to just do some updates on the channel, just kind of talk about what's going on. And like I mentioned in the video yesterday, I'd love to get feedback from the YouTube community. I really enjoy this channel a lot, but I'd love to get your feedback on anything you want to see, anything you'd like to have discussed here on this channel. And so just taking a look and making sure I've got everything set up correctly so people can chat. I hope I do. Oh, there we go. All right. Hey, everybody. I've got Chris B, Lex, Acer, and Just a Lurker. So good morning, everybody. How are y'all doing? Okay, good. So the sound is good. Glad y'all can hear me. So how is everybody this morning? Oh, Remy, you got a birthday today. Awesome. Happy birthday. Chris B, you said, let's see, question for you. One where you in Aston, and two, what are you doing? Oh, were you in Aston? What is Aston? I'm not sure where that is. All right, so yeah, I want to kind of kick off, let everybody know what's been going on with the channel. I've been, as you can probably tell in the last month or so, I haven't been putting out the typical videos that I do. Had a baby about 4.5 weeks. Actually, it'll be 5 weeks tomorrow. And so we finally had a girl after having two boys. And so it's been quite the experience. I've really been enjoying it a lot. And so fortunately, I've been fortunate. I've been getting a lot of sleep, and my wife, has been really tied up with the baby, nursing, and so that's been a really unique experience. But 3 kids. Oh, thank you, by the way. So that's been a lot of fun. It's at my age. I keep thinking, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'll be 60 when she graduates from high school. So that's been kind of an eye opener when I think about it. But really excited, and that's one of the things that's been kind of a big update in my life. And I've been trying to still create content, stay on top of videos, but it's been a bit of a struggle here lately. And so as we're kind of settling in as a family, the goal is to start, kind of getting back into my normal routine, trying to produce videos on Friday. But I really enjoy, obviously creating content for the channel and for my subscribers, all you guys. And so I'll definitely stay on top of that. So thanks for everybody's patience. And I noticed some questions coming in. The question about Afghanistan, I got it. Yeah. Oh, and hello from Scotland, Gary. Thanks for joining, and from Canada. Looks like we've got a pretty wide group of people here from all over. And yeah, Afghanistan. I probably should do another video on that, probably part 2. But I was there in '03. I think I mentioned in the video I was doing NGO work there. And that was way back in 2003. And so, Crispy, you said you were in Kandahar and Herat in '06 and '07. Yeah, I was in Kabul in '03, and it was pretty... at that time, there was obviously a lot of issues, but it was pretty calm for the most part in comparison, I think, to what it is now. But at that time, the people were a lot more appreciative of what we were doing there. But as time went on, and the different things, outside influences with Taliban and so on and so forth, it became, and it is right now, still a lot more unstable. So, yeah, if you got any questions on that, I'd be glad to talk about it. And so that Scott guy, wasn't the world going nuts today? Did I miss it? I don't think so. I know there was a lot of talk and a lot of concern that a lot of things were going to happen today. So my hope is obviously that nothing happens. Obviously, we prepare for the worst, but hope for the best. And I know there's been a lot of talk in the prepper community. I've watched on a lot of forums. And so NGO, oh my God, CIA. I wish I was in CIA because I had to pay for my whole time there. No, I never really went into a lot of detail about that on that video, but I was working with a team of medical physicians that they go into disaster areas after a disaster hits, and they provide medical relief. And so that was really the purpose of that trip. I'm not a physician, but I went in to provide support. We worked at Kabul University and helped teach, English. And so the goal was to help rebuild. And a lot of the people that I worked with are still there helping kind of rebuild. So that was kind of a little of the history about that. So I'm just sorry, I'm reading some of the comments here. But yeah, the comment about me being in the CIA, that comes up a lot when people see the video. I'm not sure why. So thoughts on Antifa, however you pronounce that. I haven't studied that a lot. I mean, I've seen what's been going on, watching the news, but I've never, to be honest, I know there's a lot of talk about there's going to be protests and stuff today. I mean, who knows if that's really going to come to pass? We'll see. And then, just a lurker, you mentioned there was alleged to be a test EMP today. I did see that. I mean, I've seen a lot of these forums and a lot of the discussions. If you've watched my channel for any length of time, you'll see that I try to take a level-headed approach, and I'm just not concerned about EMPs. Primarily, where I live in Southern Cal, my biggest threat is obviously earthquakes. But, to try to peg an event for a specific date, you know how that goes. Every time someone says something's going to happen on a specific date, of course it never does. Everybody kind of looks back and say, wow, why did we plan for that? Nothing really happens. So again, what we do as preppers is obviously we prepare for anything, and being well-rounded. So that always helps a lot. So let's see. Oh, you should upgrade that safe when you can. That guy, Scott. Yeah, thanks. I should. I just got it recently, and I know a lot of people mentioned that it's probably not a good idea since it's an electronic safe, but I'll probably be selling that and switching over to kind of a standard dial safe. So that was a decoy safe. The real one is hidden. True. Yeah, that's it. What you said. No, it's Davidas Melnikas. I'm so sorry. I probably butchered your name. How did you become a prepper? How did I become a prepper? That's a whole nother video I've got to do, and I keep planning on putting that one out. Everybody becomes prepper for different reasons. I've had the good fortune here recently of talking to the urban prepper. I was able to pick up a phone and talk to him for a while, and it was a really great talk. And by the way, he's doing awesome. He's hoping to get online back on YouTube here shortly. Just a lot going on in his life with a big move into a house and getting settled in there. So, for me personally, I get into prepping again because I live in Southern California right now. And as you know, it's a really, really bad area for, has a potential when the San Andreas hits, when it actually splits. It's going to be a bad situation here. So that's something I was wanting to kind of get into and discuss a little today. But that was really what motivated me, just being in Southern California. And it's an area where we just don't have food or water, really. Everything's imported. And there's always that potential for that, event to happen. And we're always being warned about it. And so I think that was really the big push to get me into that. So urban prepper, cool dude, also level-headed. Yeah, absolutely. He's, I talked to him. He was one of the reasons I kind of got into prepping. I came across his videos when I first started studying prepping on YouTube. And so he's a really smart guy. So really knows his stuff. That Scott guy, you should get a liberty to give you one to talk about it like they do the other two YouTubers. That's a good idea. That's actually a really smart idea. So thank you for that tip. I probably will reach out. So, hey, Mike the Mugger, what's up, City Prepper? How are you, man? Doing good. So, do you worry about living in the city if something happens? Polly Walker. Yes and no. Fascinating. I was talking to an individual in Puerto Rico over the last few days. It's young lady that reached out to me on Facebook, and we started talking, and I started asking a lot of questions about how things are going there, what's going on in Puerto Rico. And I learned a lot talking to her, what becomes a priority after a disaster, what she learned being a disaster. And I asked her, what would you do differently now from what you've learned from 3 months ago? And so one of the things that she pointed out is she would definitely have stocked up on a lot of water. And one of the things that she's pointed out is really people have no way of filtering water. People don't have filters. People are dying from diseases that they're contracting in the water. There's a lot of different animals that are polluting the water, dead animals, animals, that, their defecation is getting into the water and people are getting sick. And so one of the things that she pointed out really quickly is that if she could have done something a little different, she would have, stored a lot of water. And so that was one of the things that I thought was really interesting. That, and she mentioned just how difficult it is to get fuel, and so it's that's one thing I'm definitely going to be working on a lot, expanding out my water. And I've been working on rotating it here recently. Some of it actually got contaminated, so I'm glad I'm starting to check this stuff. And that's, again, one of the things that you really got to focus on in prepping, and it's often underrated, is make sure that you're doing your maintenance. And so yeah, it's that's kind of my opinion about the city. I think in a nutshell, it's doable. One of the things that a lot of people get freaked out about is how's the security going to be, and I asked her about that. I mean, she said it hasn't been an issue. People are cool. They're all trying to help each other. But I think long term, if there's a prolonged grid down situation, yeah, the city is definitely going to be a challenge. And again, it's unfortunate. I would love to have property right now, but for now, I'm in the city. I'm working here. I'm tied to this area, and so we'll see. I would love to get land, so I might change my channel in the next couple of years, country prepping, if I start moving out into the country. So some of the other questions that are coming in here, let's see. Trying to read these. Wedge Fifth, you asked any news on Maine Prepper. I never have had any contact with him. He was another guy when I first got into prepping. I used to love to watch his videos. Guy has a lot of combat experience, and unfortunately, he suffered very heavily from PTSD, but a really smart guy. I know that Southern Prepper 1 is in touch with him, so if anybody knows what's going on, he would be the one to talk to. So let's see. What's some of the other questions? Yeah, Just a Lurker, you pointed out Puerto Rico sounds like a walking nightmare. That was one thing she said. She said, I remember when I asked her, she said it's like living in a movie. It's horrible. It's a situation that's, just everything is destroyed. So Astride, the cacophony, RULDS. No, I'm not a Mormon, or I'm not LDS. Have a lot of respect for them. I've traveled a lot around the United States. We spent a lot of time in Utah a few years ago, and it was just, kindest people I've ever met in my life. But they're hardcore preppers. I actually just went to a emergency fair that they held at their local ward 2 weekends ago, and it was funny. It was like everything I talk about and everything I've studied, they had a booth for it. And so they had a lot of breakout sessions and talked about different things. They're really hardcore preppers, and so it was an interesting time, and just learning. And those are the kind of neighbors I would want to have if there was an accident. So that Scott guy you asked, is the baby here? Yes. And so let me see if I can transition my desktop here. There is a way to switch to, here we go. Here's my desktop. And so here's a picture. Let me open this up if I can get it. Of course, it freezes right when I go to do this. So there we go. That's the day, probably about 5 minutes after the baby showed up. And so that was back at the beginning of October. And it's been a pretty awesome experience since then. She's been a pretty easy baby to work with, so really fortunate. Have you ever, let's see, Mike the Mugger, have you ever done any PI work training? And by PI, I'm not sure what you mean. Are you talking about private investigation? I apologize if I don't know exactly what that means, but no, I haven't done anything like that. Polly Walker, we have camp up in the mountains but live in town. Lots of water stored both places. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm preparing for and I'm trying to get ready for in the next couple of years. Right now, everything is really expensive in our area. The land has gone way up. And so I would love to be in a place where I could get some land and have a BOL, if I had to go up to that, go there and take, if any situation comes. So, or if anything happened. Sorry, I'm trying to read these and talk at the same time. So, Asteria Sharia, I'm a little late. Sorry. No, welcome. Glad you made it. Yeah, Mike the Mugger, private investigator. No, I've never done anything like that. That's it sounds like it'd be a cool job, but no, never done anything like that. So, Lima Foxtrot, hey City Prepper, I know you're not a big gun guy, but what do you think about the rally today happening at state capitals? Who said I'm not a big gun guy? I just don't talk about it a lot on the channel simply because, well, I'm not, a professional, but I enjoy firearms a lot. It's a oh my gosh, it's a habit that gets real expensive really quick. So growing up in the country, I used to go out and shoot cans all day, and just so as an adult, it transitioned into better firearms, enjoying that hobby. So, but what do I think about the rally today happening at all state capitals? Again, I apologize. I'm completely ignorant. I haven't even been following along with that, so excuse my ignorance on that one. And I'm sure you're asking again about the Antifa or Antifa, whatever those rallies. I haven't been tracking those too well. I live, outside of large city areas where I live, so it doesn't affect me in this area. Interesting thing, everybody assumes Southern California is super liberal, but it's interesting the area I live in right now. It's called the Inland Empire, and it's an area that they call it the Bible Belt of Southern California. It's very conservative. It's not your typical Southern Cal like going to San Diego or LA. It's a lot different. So it's yeah, that's pretty much sums up kind of our view, or my experience living here. So Jake Sykes, beware of the man who owns a gun but doesn't talk too much about it. Hey, that's what we're supposed to do, right? We're hey, being the gray man, keeping our mouth closed about things like that. Hey, again, I mean, my neighbors, they're all cool. I mean, they know I enjoy firearms and going out and shooting. I've introduced a few of them to it, and people have been pretty cool about it. So I try to make it, just again talk about it from a level-headed approach. So just a lurker. Someone told me to try heroin. It's cheaper and less addictive than a firearm habit. I can imagine so. So Lima Foxtrot. I live in Riverside, by the way. Yeah, I have family up there. We go up there from time to time. We're just a little south of it. So, and Miguel Greens from DC, welcome. Thanks for joining in. So, yeah, that's been the biggest thing going on in my life, just having a baby. Like I mentioned, I attended the event a couple of weekends ago at the Emergency Fair. That was a really good time. Learned a lot. And met a lot of really nice people that, are really into prepping. And so I'll be talking to them more and more and getting ideas. There was one breakout session that they had specifically on earthquakes, and that was an eye-opener. The stats when the San Andreas actually slips, and that was even something that kind of pushed me a little more to make sure I've got my ducks in a row. The estimates they gave conservatively on day one alone, they estimate around 365,000 or close to 400,000 fatalities just in day one alone. And so that was a bit of an eye-opener when it actually, and so the area that we live in, the actual model, the computer models show that this area won't be impacted as heavily. It'll still be damaged, but nothing like the areas in the LA Basin and the areas next to San Andreas that start down in the Salton Sea. So answering a few other questions. So you have to have thousands of dollars of ammo, otherwise firearms are pointless. Yeah, that's that guy Scott. Yeah, it is something I'd love to get into, reloading. Look at that as an option. I just did a video recently with some guys up at R&B Tactical. Really cool guys. They're the ones that I did the video for the 80% lower receiver. They're into reloading as well, and so it's another skill set. I'll probably work with them to help actually learn it myself. So Daniel Marino, I'm in Pomona. Yeah, there's a lot of people I'm finding here in Southern California and California that are becoming preppers. It's just, I think people are kind of waking up to the reality that when something happens here, they're going to have to take care of themselves for probably a pretty long period of time. That was one of the things that I was surprised when I took the CERT training. Even the gentleman leading the course was a fire department chief, and he even pointed out if you can't take care of yourself for a bare minimum of 2 weeks, I mean, food and water, just 2 weeks, I mean, you're not even scratching the surface. And that was years ago. That another kind of reason that got me going, getting serious about prepping. So World March and Anthem, greetings from Indonesia. Wow. Hey, thanks so much for joining World March and Anthem. Glad to have you on. So I would love to, actually, if you can, by the way, shoot me an email. I'd love to hear your thoughts on prepping in another country. That's something I've never really looked at much myself. I've been so focused on what's been going on here. So Molly Johnson, how much food do you have stored away? Not enough. That's another thing I've got to build. I've been, slowly building that up, but it's nowhere near where it needs to be. And that was one of the things I learned after going to that emergency preparedness fair a couple of weeks ago. The goal is to build up to a minimum of a year, but not quite there. So Gary Mish, the Cascadia Fault is overdue as well. Yep. A lot of areas are prime for, that happening. Modern Reformer. Yeah, hey, I've gotten some of your comments before, and I've seen some of your videos. Welcome. Do you have a truck gun? If so, what is it? I'm in California. It's way more dangerous to have a gun in your vehicle than to not. It's just, with the police and everything out here, you're setting yourself up for a lot of, if you don't have a CCW. And by the way, the area I live in, they're starting to offer CCWs, but it's an extremely, extremely very stringent process and very expensive. And so it's just not something I've been able to get into right now. Horror Addict, fellow prepper from New York City. Hey, welcome, Horror Addict. Great to have you on. I've been to New York City. Love it. One of my favorite places when I travel. I would live there if I could, but I'm sure you would advise me otherwise. Let's see. Ergo Mood. Do you think prepping causes escalation of fear and builds panic? Excellent question, and that's a video that I'd love to do, talk about that more. I've had a talk with someone just last night, a friend that was at my house, kind of talking about that. Long story short, I don't think it causes panic, but I think it causes, and again, everybody's personality is different. I hope, again, if you've watched my videos, you see I try to be level-headed. And the thing is if you're prepared, and again, I know a lot of Mormons, they're hardcore preppers. They're some of the most level-headed, calm people I've met. They're very family-oriented, obviously. And so I think, for me, personally, it just brings a sense of calm. But I don't focus on the fear aspect. And that's why you just won't see that in my videos. I won't push fear. It would be so easy to grow my channel. I've watched some other YouTube channels in prepping, and they really push fear. And I can't bring myself to do it. It's just not who I am. And I just, have to be honest with myself about that. Yeah, I'm sucking wind. You pointed out prepping is a way of life in other countries. Absolutely it is. And, because again, it's something that a lot of people have to learn to prepare. And then Ergo Moo, you asked, are you an alarmist? No. I hope my videos don't come off that way. And if they are, I apologize. I don't want to be that way. And that's something I have to consciously make sure that I'm not doing, because I don't want that. Fire Fanatic. I'm a prepper in Oregon and trying to prepare amidst a lazy family. Yeah, good luck. It's, I'm sure it can be a challenge. So let's see. I apologize. Just skip forward. Oh, I got to show this one. Let's see. Jay Sykes. Why are so many preppers fat? I know there's been a lot of videos on that. Canadian Prepper does an amazing job at really pushing people to, push themselves physically. I could probably even drop 10, 15 pounds, but yeah. And by the way, that Scott guy, it's like $550 for a license of carry in California. It's about $1,000 here. They have to do a lot of background checks, talk to your neighbors, and do a lot of other crazy stuff. So something I just don't want to get into. Here we go. Anna, I'm sorry if I'm butchering your last name, Raidmeischer. I'm personally senior in high school, so I'm looking around at college. How do you prep in a college dorm? That's probably a video I should do, honestly. I was in college years ago, but it's obviously hard with limited space and limited budget. It's hard to, for you to buy something like a rental space. But yeah, hit me up after this, put a comment in the video, and I'll do a video on that. I'll put that in my queue. So let me look at a few other ones here. So let's see. Lima Foxtrot, great job doing the live streaming. Thoughts on a prepping group? Oh, thanks, by the way. Prepping group, that's something I know that's a big discussion, with things like MAG, am I saying it right, Mutual Assistant Group? I forget the exact, what the acronyms stand for, but I know there's a lot of them around here in our area. I haven't joined one yet. I don't know if I ever will, but my approach is just build good neighbors and teach them. And I think someone asked that earlier about neighbors, about prepping. I don't tell people I'm a prepper just because, again, just the view of it is so negative. But, I encourage people, and I have. And I've seen them take action. Neighbors around me just, get some water, get some food. And I've seen people do it. So let me see here. Peter Cohen, 5 people, a year's worth of food is roughly 2,000 pounds of grain. Yeah, that's why one of the things that's taken me so long to get around this. It's a lot of work. So let me see here. My World Marching Anthem, my country's government did not socialize about SHTF, and I think my country is in critical condition. People in my country are like, hey, we don't care about social unrest. What must I do? Yeah, good question. Like all things in life, I'm never looking for, and I'm sure you're not as well, looking for the government to provide, what I need. And that's one of the things that, again, got me into prepping, because I want to be more self-sufficient. I'm not necessarily of the mindset that the government's about to crash, but, I'm not looking for the government to take care of me and my family. That's something I want to take care of for myself. So let's see. Pink Ribbon Walking Woman. Prepping isn't just for governmental collapse. Superstorm Sandy started me on my journey. Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things, again, I kind of got into prepping was primarily because of just natural disasters. They're, they are what they are. They're very likely. Again, living in Southern California, the government's not my primary concern. Again, my primary concern is just more natural disasters. And that's one of the things that the individual I talked to on Facebook pointed out that, hey, people really underestimate the power of natural disasters, and she's absolutely right. Nature is very powerful. And so, have you, Javier S., any prepping books recommendation? There's a lot on the market. Some I've got that I've read through and I've thumbed through that are really good. There's, some are. I think the Prepper Blueprints one that I've read through a lot of it, and it's really well done, really well thought out. I think if someone's looking to, really begin to kind of get a deep dive, that would be a smart one. Earned Wilson, where did you go? You said, do I store gasoline? There you are. Earned Wisdom, excuse me. Do you store gasoline? No. That's something I want to do, and I'll be doing here in future videos. You can't see it behind me, but I've got a solar generator on the floor that I picked up from a company called Energy, Inergy. And really fascinating. This is not a sales pitch for them, but I haven't even begun to review the product yet. But they initially contacted me back in March, asking me to do a review on their product. And they finally sent me one about a month ago, and they were going to send the solar panels. But really fascinating, they've been sold out of the products after everything happened in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico's been buying up all their solar generators and solar panels. And the reason I say that, in light of your question, do I store up gasoline? My goal is to get away from any kind of gas-based operational equipment, whether that be a generator, because I live in a small environment. In this moment, you fire up a generator, everybody's going to know. And so I'm going to try to move towards solar as much as I can. And I know the concern is going to be, what about EMPs? They've actually got some EMP bags that they send that you can slide the devices in to shield them from that. So storing, let's see, Seeking Closure. You said storing fuel is something overlooked at a lot of preppers. Absolutely. If you're dependent, again, and that, again, these are videos that I'm going to be doing a lot more. There's a lot of companies coming out with solar or energy storage alternatives, primarily with a with the advancement. How about that? With the advancement of lithium batteries becoming better and cheaper, storing energy is becoming a lot easier to do. So, Polly Walker, with our mental president, all should prep for anything to happen. Yeah, so, yeah. All right, Ergo Moo, have you done things to reverse the damage done to the world, food gardens, pollution reduction, wildlife preservation, other things, besides outlast others dying to make it better for after the fall? Great question. I think that's one thing. That's a whole nother video discussion about making sure that we're leaving something better for our kids, and I agree with you. That could be a whole conversation in and of itself, but, great point. Let's see. Ancient, I probably going to mispronounce it. AEOLUS. Thinking about taking all my money out of the 401k, but going to get penalty if I don't. I'm not a financial advisor, so by no means am I going to give you any recommendations. But, I've got retirement accounts, but there's no way I would touch anything like that. Or me personally, I think you'd have a much more likely chance of, being in a position where when you retire, you would need that versus, needing that immediately for some emergency. I used to be part of a prepper group that met up in a little north of here. And the gentleman that leads the course is interesting. When Obama took office, he freaked out. And he told me, he kind of told me the whole story. He freaked out, pulled all his savings out, ran up credit cards, loaded up on all the prepper gear. And he bankrupted himself and went into debt. And he has a lot of regrets over that. And so, he was able to share, if I could do it all over again, I'd take a level-headed approach and build up slowly. And I think that's a smart view on it. So, St. Martin, hey, what's up? Hey, thank you for joining. You've been a long-time subscriber and provided a lot of comments on my videos. It's great having you on. Thanks for coming. So, I'm going to scroll down here a little. I apologize. These are kind of coming in fast here. So, Just Lurker, I'm sorry, I'm just reading this one again. Political prepping seems short-sighted, y'all. Natural disasters don't care. Who's behind is parked in the State House. Agree with you 100%. And again, that's why I try not to get caught up on what's going on, because politics is an area that I try not to discuss on the channel because everybody's got different views on it. And to be honest, prepping really it's independent in my opinion of that. So let's see, Wedge Fifth, the gas I've stored the last 6 years because I've properly taken the precaution to use a fuel stabilizer. 6 years, wow. Are you rotating that? I haven't studied long-term fuel storage that much, but I'd be curious, how are you doing it for 6 years? I know what fuel stabilizer is, but That's one of the things I think is always hilarious about The Walking Dead. They get in these cars that have been sitting on the side of the road for years and crank them up. So propane never goes bad. Yeah, that's a wedge fit. That's something you pointed out. I do store a lot of propane. For me, that's I think that would be my go-to to be able to cook over a stove. So Katoom is Spencer. I'm probably butchering that name as well. Hello from SoCal. Hey, how you doing? Nancy Greens from Canada. Thanks so much for joining. Yeah. Hey, welcome. Let's see. Jay Sykes. LE confiscated weapons during Katrina. Um, yeah. I mean, that's something you've got to definitely think about in advance when it comes to firearms. So, and then Wedge, you said yes, I'm rotating. See, there you go. I mean, yeah. I mean, I made the mistake, and again, just kind of sharing mistakes I've made. I did the video on building a rain harvesting system, and I just the other day I finally got around to opening up the valve to just check on the water, and it's been sitting there for a long time. I didn't rotate it, and it smelled like a big rotten egg. So right now I'm having to dump it. I'm gonna have to go through and clean all that out. So rotation is critical. Earned wisdom. Are you happy with chickens? Yes, actually I am. They're really cool. They take a lot of work. They're definitely not they don't give you any kind of cost advantage, but it's really cool having them, and I'm glad, just to have a good clean source of protein on the backup if I need it. So Peter, store what you use what you store. Storing gas shouldn't be an issue if you fill your tank once in a while with it. Yeah, everything comes under rotation. That's the critical thing to do, and I'm not the best at it, but yeah. Astride the cacophony. What is your opinion of Pastor Joe Fox? Do you think his concerns are realistic? I subscribe to Viking preparedness. I subscribe to a lot of prepper channels. I don't agree with everything they say. I think a lot of them have a lot of wisdom, and kind of take what you want and leave what you don't. But I mean, he'd be one of those kind of guys you'd want as a neighbor if something happened. Really level-headed guy, very intelligent. I don't agree with everything. I don't think he's fear-mongering at all. I wouldn't say that, but I think he was an intelligence in the military, and I think he saw some things that gave him concern, and so I could understand why he may be very, very concerned about things. So maybe he has insight that I don't. But I enjoy a lot of his videos. So Delving Lore, thank you for the videos you're sharing with each one of us. Very appreciated. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you guys as subscribers. You're the reason I keep going. It makes it fun. Knowing that I'm helping somebody, helping a group of people to learn. And again, my channel really, I need to do a video on this, but the primary reason I do this channel is because I want to learn. It pushes me to learn. I probably wouldn't do it otherwise. I tend to be a little more on I hate to use the word lazy, but I'm not somebody that's necessarily going to push myself if I don't have to. And so a lot of the reason I get into prepping or doing this YouTube channel is because it teaches me, it pushes me. I have to get out there and learn. If I'm going to be able to turn around and explain and teach it, I've got to know enough that I can, and I've got to be in a position where I've actually done something where I could actually teach it. And so you guys keep me going. And again, it's something I enjoy doing a lot, but I learn as I go. So what's some of the other comments here? Let's see, horror addict. Am I worried about martial law? Me personally, I mean, we would have to be in a really bad position to get to there. I'm sucking wind. We're under martial law now. Well, I mean, again, I've lived in some other countries. I've seen some stuff. I don't think we're anywhere near that, in my opinion. But again, I guess living in California is closest we're going to get in the United States. But let's see. Jay Sykes, sir, may I ask what keeps you level-headed and grounded? Well, thank you first and foremost for saying that. Again, I could do a whole video on that. I think I mentioned this before. I was a child of the 80s. I grew up in the 80s, and I think if there was ever a time in history to be really, really, really concerned, I think the 80s were it. And what do I mean by that? There were so many, 70s, 80s, 60s even. There was so much opportunity for nuclear exchange between Russia and the United States that fortunately, or the USSR, unfortunately that never happened. There's a lot of articles that I've read, even recently, sharing stories about different Russian military personnel that were in positions where they had their finger on the button to launch ICBMs, and they had the justification to do it, but they couldn't bring themselves to do it because they knew what would happen. And so, if you could ever think about a time in history where it was right on the edge, where there is a potential for things to happen, that I think was a time to do it. I mean, I know a lot of things are going on with North Korea and so on. I don't see them as anywhere near a threat as what we did, during the USSR. I'm not saying they're not a threat, but nothing the way it was, what I saw growing up. So to answer your question, how do I keep level headed and grounded? I guess my answer is I've seen a lot of stuff. I've seen, things happen in the past growing up. I saw a time that a potential for bad things to happen. It never happened. And I just realized, you can't let fear eat you. It paralyzes you, and it makes it hard for you to move forward. And it's just not a way I want to live my life. I choose to be prepared, but there's no way you can prepare for everything. I mean, if someone drops a nuclear bomb in our area, I mean, what am I going to do? I don't have an underground bunker or anything. And so anyway, that's a whole nother video I should probably do. SHTF, West Coast Prepper, are you an SD? I got this hat because it fits and it was on sale. So I lived in San Diego years ago, but beyond that, no, I don't live there right now. So, just a lurker. Some channels that started level went nuts. Yeah, it's easy to do that. I mean, I could easily do that in a second, and I could grow it faster, but I just can't do it. So, Eric Martinez, Martinez, ham radio. Do you have one? Which you like? I've been thinking about that a lot lately. Actually, I just have the cheap Baofeng or whatever it's called. Those things, honestly, yeah, it's not that great. I'm probably going to replace it with a really good one here soon, and that's another video I've got to work on. So, Wedge Fifth, Colin Neward did a piece on crossbows in his latest episode, worth watching if you want to learn about Daryl's crossbows effectively. Yeah, actually, I enjoy Colin. I watch a lot of his videos. I'll have to check that one out. Thanks for bringing that up. So, I'm sucking wind. You must have good parents that keep you level-headed. Yeah, I had great parents. But, my dad, I mean, he had a lot of concerns and fears, and I watched that growing up, and he is a level-headed individual. But he's become, I think, become a lot more mellow as he has gotten older, and he's seen that a lot of the things that he was afraid of growing up never came to pass. And so, T. Nemeth, do you think freeze-dry is a good investment? Freeze-dry food? Yeah, or food freeze-dryer is a good investment. I know the Canadian Prepper's done the videos on that one. I've thought about it. I know it's kind of expensive. I think if you want to go that direction, it wouldn't be a bad idea because, I mean, obviously it's cheap buying things like it's not cheap buying, the big packages of Mountain House and stuff like that. So that's one of the things I'm going to review or study here soon. Not that I'm reviewing their product, the freeze-dry maker, but it's something I've thought about a lot. So I don't know. I haven't really done a thorough exam on that, so I can't give you an honest answer on that one right now. Astride the cacophony, what is your opinion about the impending stock market crash likely to happen? Well, it depends on who you ask. My business partner he's a very intelligent individual. He studies economics, and he was here recently visiting me, and we were sitting down looking at some of the statistics of what's happening and some of the graphs of where the current economy is, and there's a lot of indicators that show some really negative signs, potential setup for a crash. And he's not a prepper by any means, but he stores a lot of ammunition, gold. It's kind of fascinating. Smart guy, not a fear-based guy at all. He's not a prepper. Not to say fear and prepper go together, but I mean he's not the typical person you think would be preparing, but he is. And so, let's see. Sorry, let me just keep going here. Passion time. I'm interested in ham radio. Is it hard or easy in between to get up and running adequately? Yeah, that's it. I've studied it a lot. I was going to take the test a while back, and I studied it. It's really technical, but like anything, the more you practice it, the better you get with it. And that's what I'm trying to. I want to hurry up and get into. I apologize. I know I keep talking about that in my videos. I'm going to do it, but it's one of those things I've got to get around to. So, World March and Anthem. What must I do if I want to build strong society with my friends and neighbors and they don't care about dangerous situations? So the question is, how do you build, I guess, with neighbors and friends if they're not worried about these things? Again, I try to bring level-headed approaches to all of this. I've just tried to show people the potential of what could happen. Again, living in an area where we have earthquakes and stuff like that. So I purposely just try to present a level-headed approach. I don't push fear, like I mentioned earlier. And so I've been surprised a lot of them have responded very positively and realized, hey, they do need to get ready. And so, like in all things, just build relationships and let it be a natural thing. And so it's not anything I push or promote on people, but I do point it out, and they've responded, which is really cool. So, Wedge Fifth, most metros have ham radio clubs. They have members that are willing to help with training to use the radio. Yeah, absolutely. We have one out here. I've seen their website. It looks like more of a senior citizens club. It's a lot of older gentlemen. Nothing obviously wrong with that, but I'd like to get involved with them and join up so I can learn from them because obviously, it looks like these guys have been doing it for a long time. Seem like really smart guys, a lot of knowledge. So, um, let's see. What do you do to hedge against stock market crash? Um, it's stock market crash. How do you hedge against that? Wow, that's a great question. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'd hate to tell you, hey, you should do this and that, but like anything, diversify. That's my thing. You know, and I'm not just talking about finance. I'm just talking about everything in general. And that's again why we prep. Diversifying food, water, security. If that's really a big important thing for you, but I try to, again, I don't invest in any single thing. I do invest in the stock market through Roth IRAs, but again, I know that could crash. I mean, one of the things that's really important to me is to get land. That's gonna be one of the big moves here in the next couple of years. I'm really gonna focus on that. Oh, sorry if I'm rambling here. Passing time in life on the road. I wonder what you mean by that. Do you full time? Do you RV? I'd love to hear you. I used to do that a lot. We used to full time in an RV. Loved it a lot. Um, I'm sorry, kind of going through here. Let's see, Bengals won US. No question, just saying, enjoying your channel. It helps a lot. Hey, thanks. I appreciate it. And that's, again, one of the things that I so much love to hear is that it actually helps people. So thank you. Gary Mish, storing large quantities of rice is very inexpensive. Mylar bags will last 30 years. Excellent point. I want to do a video on that shortly. I'm probably going to make a Costco run this weekend and actually buy, just a couple of 50-pound rice bags. I haven't even really started storing that up, but that's one thing I am going to work on very soon. You're absolutely right. It's inexpensive and it's easy to store. And a lot of countries, people live on that, just rice and beans. It's a staple food. And so I'm sucking wind. I hate rice. Well, I'm assuming if we're all starving, rice would be awesome at that point. And but again, diversify your food, mix it up. I'd love to get into dehydrating. That's one of the things I want to start studying next, to start adding in nice thing, good food like apples or other things that I would actually enjoy. Do you store food for those around who do not prep but wish you did? Uh, Great question. That's something that I'm going to actually begin to, again, expand my preps for that specifically. Because I know I have friends. I mean, they know I prep. I've talked to them to try to encourage them. I try to be selective in who I talk to about it. But at the end of the day, yeah, people are going to need help, and that's the long and short of it. And I want to be there as much as I can to help people. So let me see. Which fifth? Anyone else use a ham radio during an emergency with life or property is in danger without a license? Yeah. I'm sorry. Anyone can use a ham radio. You're absolutely right. Legally, you're allowed to use a ham radio license anytime if there's an emergency. But like all things, it would be really challenging if something happened and you didn't have the skills or the ability to use it. I mean, I've got a ham radio. I played around with it a few times and I've watched the video tutorials. But I mean, you know how it is. There's a difference between learning something and actually doing it, and it helps a lot. So delving lower, dehydrating is definitely the way to go. Uh, for any of y'all on this channel that's watching that never done dehydrating, well, first and foremost, I've never done dehydrating, but when I was at the emergency fair last weekend, there's a lady doing a presentation on it, and it looked really easy. I was surprised. One of the things, she pointed out a lot of stuff that she's learned over the last few years, but she let us try out some of her samples, and they're amazing. Um, let's see, go to Winco. Yeah, I've heard a lot about Jack Clark say go to Winco. They just opened in SoCal. Rice 25 for 13. Okay, no, thank you for that tip. I've heard a lot of good things about it. So um, let's see, Peter Cohen. You mentioned nothing will help survival better than a community of people whose lives you basically saved. Wow, that's really well said. And again, one of the things I would love to see and I would love to do videos on is a lot of times it's easy when we talk about prepping to take a very defensive position of, this is mine, and if anybody comes for it, I'm going to do this and that to them. And I'm amazed at how little people see the value in actually working with a community to help during a time like that. So that could be a whole video series in and of itself. All right, wake up now. Let's see. How do you plan for those with medical needs, first aid, infections? You cannot buy any medicine like antibiotics. Okay. Do you think fish antibiotics are safe? Yeah, I do have medical gear, and I've been fortunate to work with the Doom and Bloom YouTube channel. They're very, very knowledgeable. Obviously, he's a physician, a doctor, and she's a nurse. Both have a lot of experience. And antibiotics is something I need to do more study on, to be honest. It's something that I realize if you were to get, stabbed or, cut your finger or shot or whatever, you'll need antibiotics. Even after you obviously, stabilize the individual. Excuse me, you're going to need that. Let's see, Nancy, I probably going to mispronounce your last name, Castine. Any tips for someone with really limited space? I live in a satchel apartment. Yeah, that one's tough. I mean, I used to live in an apartment years ago. I know. I mean, any way that you can store, I know, storing water under beds, under couches, they have those like water bricks, and those are some things I'd love to do some videos on because I've gotten a lot of questions about that. You have to get really creative in those situations. It's not easy, I know. But, again, that could be a whole video series as well. Let me read on. So, what is the difference between a bug out bag versus other bags? Is there a video out explaining them? The big bags in the community, I won't go into a lot of details. You got your inch, I'm never coming home. That's the prolonged, just got everything as much as you can. Bug out bags more for what's considered, a 72-hour period. Then you have the get home bag, that you throw in the back of your trunk if you're, if you work 10 miles away from your home or whatever you need ability to get home. Your EDC, which is your typical kind of everyday carry. Those are kind of your primary breakdowns, but I'm sure there's even more breakdowns on that. Edward Pettigren, hello CP. Well, hello Edward. Again, I know you're a longtime subscriber, so welcome. Thanks for joining. Let's see. Let me keep reading on here. I'm sucking wind. For some reason, I don't trust the fish antibiotics. Yeah, I don't really know enough to say about that, to be honest. I haven't studied it. That's another video. I know there's a gazillion videos out there on fish antibiotics, but something I'd love to study more. Where am I at now? Wedge fifth, cases of food can be stacked under your bed and stack them as table nightstands and put covers on them. Yeah, I've seen videos where people, they'll put bricks under the corners of their couch to give it a little space, and then they'll slide, like you're saying, cans of food. Again, those brick containers, those water storage containers. If you just go to Google and type in like brick water containers, you'll see that they're you can slide those into spaces. I mean, in the back of your cupboards, you can store water containers. Again, you just have to, it comes down to creativity. Let's see. Reading on here. I store, Edward, you said I store 55-gallon container of water in my apartment. Again, you just have to be, really creative in what you do with that. So, and then Tony, you mentioned, I looked it up on WebMD. It says it's the same that the doctor gives to you. Yeah, I would love to comment on that more. From my understanding, and don't quote me on this, but my understanding is that fish antibiotics, and again, if anybody has any more information, please provide it in the comments below. But my understanding is it is the same, but it's just not, I don't know if the dosage amounts are, defined like you would in a typical antibiotics. But again, something, I haven't really got into it a lot because I've always been wondering, how long can I store it? How long is it good for? But again, it's one of those videos that I've got to work on creating so I can actually educate myself on that. So wake up now. Also, do you think we will see global food shortages due to extreme weather, flooding, hurricanes, wildfires? And are you feeling everyone can... Oh, so, yeah, that one I don't know. I mean, I know with a lot of the, the modified foods that are being developed in America, they're able to grow more food per acreage, etc. I have no idea on that one. I hope that we never see global food shortages in our lifetime, but through history it has happened, unfortunately. And again, one of the reasons that we prepare. So, modern reformer, dehydrating food is pretty easy. My family started doing it. Yeah, that was the thing is the lady that did the presentation, she had, I forget the name of the company. I'm going to pick up one. I'll probably reach out, see if they'll send me one. And they have this, they're just trays and the fans in the back. And it was interesting, the lady at the event, she mentioned she'd had dehydrators with the fans at the bottom, but she likes the ones at the back because it does an equal pulling of air. The ones at the bottom, she has to kind of rotate and it's difficult. But she had some food there. And again, she used just simple bags that she would seal them off, pull out the air after she dehydrated the food, and she could store them for, a couple of years on the, and she would just rotate it. But yeah, the food was really, really good. And so, again, that's probably one of the reasons I'd like to get into it. Because what she does is she waits for food to go on sale, like, maybe a pound of apples is 50 cents or something. They're having a big sale. and she sends out a newsletter every week saying what's on sale, and so she'll go and buy it in bulk, cut it up, prepare it, dehydrate it, and then store it away. So Prepper Beginner 105, is an air gun viable for SHTF? I have one. I mean, that's what I grew up with as a kid, hunting, just small game with that. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, if you can take down rabbit or birds, I mean, something that, if things got bad, if you had to eat, it would definitely work. Let's see, Tech and Prep Network. For some reason, YouTube told me the stream would start 9 my time. Sorry about that. Glad you made it. You've been a long time, or provided a lot of comments and subscribed, so thank you for joining. Akeem, you asked, besides food and water, what else should I stock up on next? Yeah, food and water. You can't go wrong. Food. I mean, I don't know how long your food terms, how much food you have stored, but you can't go wrong storing up. I know, again, in the Mormon community, I think a year is a minimum. A lot of them do 2 years plus. But food and water, medical, obviously. Security is a consideration that you need to think about. Candles, lighting, the things that, the ability to cook, all these things. That's why I stock up. I'm going to try to expand my own wood storage here soon. That's why I've done a few videos on rocket stoves, because for me personally, I love the technology on those things. They're very small. They're efficient with a with a small amount of twigs and wood. You can produce a lot of heat and cook. So that's something that, storing up a lot of, if you can, store up wood, or some kind of fuel source, propane. Let's see. Keep reading on here. I'm sorry, I've been getting behind. David, do you believe 9/11 was an inside job? No, I personally do not. But again, I know there's a lot of different views on there. But one of the things I could do a whole video series, I'm sure, on this as well. Personally, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I mean, do I take everything at face value? No, I think there are things that have, there's alternative motives, and that there's other entities at work to get us to believe certain things, or to, buy into certain beliefs or lies. But it's very rare for me to actually go down that path of being, of the belief that, this is a conspiracy. That's just not my personality. So, Nancy, you asked, how do you feel about preppers who are really right-wing and fanatical? Like anything, I mean, look, I've been around the block. I've seen a few things. It's easy to get radicalized in anything, whether that's religion, prepping, politics. I mean, once someone gets to a point where they become what I would consider fanatical, again, it's difficult to have conversations with those individuals. You've got to have a point where you can have an open discussion. I have a lot of friends that are, very, very liberal. I have a lot of friends that are very, very right-wing, and everything in between. And, I try to listen to all of them and understand. I wish there was more of that in our country right now. But, again, a whole nother discussion. So, but I'll keep going on with these here. Let's see. Let's see. Gary Mish, Dr. Bones Nurse Amy has a video about fish antibiotics, very informative. Hey, Gary, if you wouldn't mind putting a link to that in the comment section below, that would be helpful. I'd love to watch that myself. If you feel like you found something that has a lot of good information and want to share it with the community, I would personally love to, check that out as well. Let's see, 1989 Honda Hawk, check out Patriot Nurse or YouTube concerning fish antibiotics. Yeah, seems like a general consensus here that she's got a lot of good information. So, yeah, check out her channel on that. Let's see. Where are we here? Let's see. Matt, aquaponics. Speaking of fish, are you accustomed to the process of growing veggies out of fish waste and soil without soil in soilless self-cycling system? Can you grow mature okay. Yeah, I have a friend that got into that. I have a good friend that lives around me that he's actually amazing gardener. He was a Marine, and he loves a garden now, and he tried to get into aquaponics. Didn't have a lot of success, but it might be something I'll look into one day. So, Wedge Fifth, you said, Akeem, not only the items, but the skills that go along with them. Medical, training, self-defense, gardening. Absolutely, that's a great point. Can't bring that up enough. It's easy to store things and to just collect stuff, but if you don't have the skills and knowledge to properly use medical gear and so on, ham radio, exactly, the ham radio. I mean, that's one of the issues. I've got a ham radio, but, to be honest, I'm like, I wouldn't really quite know what to do if it came down to actually needing to use it. And again, that's my own fault, and that's something I've got to study more on. So, Skills will always outweigh things whenever something happens. I mean, I used to, I've shared this before. When I was in Boy Scouts, I used to mountain climb a lot, and I used to go on backpacking expeditions in the mountains. One of the greatest things I did as a child, loved it a lot. But looking back, the skills that I developed during those times, were just important. And there's a lot of situations that I was in that, kind of life and death situations that I learned a lot. And again, these are all skills that are developed and, baked in now. So it's really nice. Someone mentioned the buffering. Hopefully it's still working. So, Peter, I'm pretty right wing and fanatical. I feel pretty good, actually. Well, they're good. I mean, it's, again, I've got friends of all different persuasions and beliefs. And as long as people are willing to talk and communicate, I mean, it doesn't, again, I'm a Southern boy. I grew up in the South. I grew up in East Texas next to Louisiana, right by the border. And yeah, I mean, it was, I understand, and again, I wouldn't consider myself non-conservative, but again, as long as people are willing to, I think, at least have an open conversation with other people of other beliefs, I think that's a starting point. So, what, Daryl Dixon, you asked, what are my favorite YouTube channels? Honestly, well, yeah, I enjoy, probably like a lot of you guys. I don't know if you like Canadian Prepper. I really enjoy it. I haven't asked him, but gosh, I got to imagine that guy's gone full time with YouTube. That guy's cranking one out every day. He's an animal. I don't know how he does that. I mean, there's no way I could do that. That guy, whew, he's pretty dedicated. Yeah. So I enjoy his channel. There's a lot of kind of more comedy channels that I like, Gus Johnson and some other ones. I enjoy the more lighthearted type of videos, more comedy based. I think than anything. It's always nice to get a laugh in every now and then. So, Just a lurker, by the way. Patriot Nurse early videos. No further comment. I won't touch that one. Let's see. Dehydrating is dead easy. You can do it in a slow oven even if you don't have a dehydrator. Okay, no, that's a good tip. Thank you for sharing that one. That's a good one. And let's see. Madman 80602, looking at recent SHDF scenarios, Venezuela, Houston, PR. Do you have any insights into how we may want to reprioritize prep skills, include other systems in the face of this new data? Yeah, I kind of shared this at the beginning of the video. I've been talking to an individual in Puerto Rico, and she's been sharing the things that she's learned. Water, clean drinking water and food. But that's the biggest thing. She says water and fuel. They just don't, everything's rationed. Fuel, they can get it every now and then for, I think, $20 worth at a time. I don't know how many gallons that is, but food and water, that was her recommendation in fuel. I asked her specifically because I know one of the biggest fears for a lot of preppers is security. What's going to happen? Is everybody going to go nuts? And she said, no, that hasn't been the issue. Everybody's been really calm and level-headed. I mean, she said there's parts up in the north, she mentioned, that were a little more rowdy, as she called it. But overall, think about it. I mean, at least where I live, we don't have water, at least not naturally. There's some lakes, but they're far away. But for me, that would be the number one concern I would have. Nancy, are you a gray man, or do your neighbors know that you're a prepper? Again, I don't go around broadcasting that I'm a prepper to neighbors, but I do encourage them to prepare because, again, we all live in earthquake territory, so we all have the same understanding. And, it's something I try to encourage other people to do. But, again, I just don't use that term. Prepper Beginner 105, nice vid, gotta go. Hey, thanks for coming in. See you later. So, next time. Where are we at? How do you protect your electrical items from an EMP? Andrew the Elder. Honestly, I haven't given a lot of stock to EMPs. I did a video on an EMP. I don't think they're... And again, this is the thing that... Another video. I keep saying I got to do another video, but this is a video I definitely would love to do. There's a difference in my mind between what's possible and probable. I do not see EMPs as overly probable. I think they're possible, but it's not something that I'm concerned about. And again, that doesn't mean that I don't prepare for them, but it's not something I focus on. So the electrical items I have, if there were an EMP, for me, I mean, I love electrical items, but I realize a lot of things would get destroyed or damaged. And so that's why I like, redundant systems or systems that don't require electronics, like gravity-fed, water filtration. I mean, I've got a Berkey, other things that don't rely on electricity. So where are we at here? Keep scrolling down. Sorry, this thing is jumping really fast on me. All right, hello from Valley Center, California. Oh, cool. Hey, welcome. Thanks for joining, Vidicious. Um, I'm sorry, I'm just going to keep reading here. Andrew Young, I have a new grandson on the way. Congratulations, by the way. We keep diapers, etc. for him. We often keep extras for others. We can't do it that can't do it themselves. Yeah, absolutely. Having that ability or having backup and helping others will be critical. Nancy, what do you have in your bob? I've got a whole video on that. If you go to my videos, you can see. And I'm always changing that. I'm actually going to do a video probably soon about creating an ultralight bug out bag. And so I'm hoping to do that in the next couple of months because, I love my bug out bag, but man, that thing's heavy. So Gary Mish, bugging out would be the very last option. Leaving my bulk storage ammo food and becoming a target on the road for bandits, you would be a supply wagon for the unprepared. Yeah, bugging out, I'm not of the mindset of bugging out. I mean, I would if I had to. About a week or so ago, we had a fire come over the mountain right behind us. I mean, I don't say right behind us. It was several miles away, but it was close enough that you could see it, and that was not fun. So, there is that chance. I mean, we would have to pack up and leave, but it's not, anything I try to prepare for. I try to prepare to as much as I can to stay in place. And again, where I live in Southern California, the most likely scenario is an earthquake. The infrastructure would be damaged. The roads would be damaged. It'd be very hard, very difficult to go anywhere. And even if you did have to bug out, I mean, we're in a desert. I'm not sure really where you're going to go. So at least the area that I live in, I would try to shelter in place as much as I can. Peter Cohen's solar storm EMP is one of the more likely scenarios. Yeah, I did a video on EMPs, and I talked about that specifically, the CME, coronal mass injection. I shared this. I don't know if I shared it in the video, but my father was he worked in power generation all his life. He retired just a couple of years ago. And he ran a power plant in East Texas for about 37 years. By the time he left a couple of years ago, he was the only one. He was the last well, let's say it this way. When he retired, he was the only person that was there from when it opened. And so he had all the knowledge in his head. And really smart guy when it comes to electrical grids. And we've talked about CMEs and stuff like that. And, the way he explained to me is the grid is set up for a lot of the, things like lightning and other stuff, but it has the potential, obviously, to trip over if it gets overloaded. But, there are fail-safe devices to prevent it from, one event frying the whole grid. They can be sectioned off, and they are. And some of them aren't even connected. So it was interesting because we talked about it. His concern is not an EMP or even a CME. His explaining to me was that if there was a CME, Canada, the areas that are in the northern parts of the world, where the actual Earth's magnet, what am I trying to say? The magnetic shield or whatever you want to call it. I forget the term exactly, but it connects in at that part of the planet, and those areas are going to be more likely to receive the brunt of the damage. And so I talk about that a little in the video, but again, EMPs, CMEs is not something I personally get too overly worried about. I'm sorry, I'm gonna to catch up. I'm gonna start rambling here. Let's see. One of the questions I just saw it. Jelly, is it Gelle? You talked about physical fitness for preppers. That is important. How do you feel about emotional fitness for disasters? Yeah, that's huge. I mean, imagine in a scenario where you lose a lot. Somebody in your family or a neighbor. I mean, the impact on that would be, it'd be horrific. I know the Canadian prepper. He talks about those a lot in his videos because he works in psychology. I'm sure he's got a lot of videos. I don't know specifically for that one, but there's, absolutely, there's a lot that needs to be said about that. Wedge, you asked, do you have more than one bob? A day pack, a 3-day pack, a get home. Due to my disability, spinal cord injury, I need to get a golf caddy to haul it. Oh, I didn't know you had that. Sorry, man. I'm really sorry to hear that. I know that can't be easy. Yeah, I think if you had some kind of ability, even a simple cart to haul a lot of that, if you have back issues, definitely consider that. Try to make it look as discreet as possible, obviously, but I think that's really smart. Let's see. I'm going to keep reading here. NASA, let's see. Peter, you say NASA estimates the probability of a Carrington event level at around 10% per decade. Yeah, that is pretty scary if you think about it. It is probable. And again, one of the reasons we prepared. Let's see. I don't want to drag this out too long. It's already at an hour. Wow, how did an hour go by? I have no idea. So, I'll probably try to do about 5 or 10 more minutes. I don't want to bore you guys to tears here. But, hey, if y'all enjoy this, I'll try to do these on the first Saturday of each month. Again, if y'all want to do a kind of a Q&A, or if y'all want to have me more talk about what's going on. I had a bunch of notes on things I want to talk about, but I've kind of turned this into more of just a discussion time. If y'all are cool with that format, great. But if y'all have any feedback and you say, hey, could you do this on future videos, post that in the comment section below. Again, I'm just trying to make this as a touch point of interaction with my community and keeping you guys up to speed. And, if you have questions, again, you're the reason for what I do. And so I always love to keep in contact with you as my subscriber base. And so if you have any feedback after this video, again, please post that below. Let me see if I can get a few more questions here. The redneck prepper, health, hygiene is going to be a killer for most preppers. They don't think of. Yeah, I agree with your assessment 100%. I think a lot of people in the prepping community overlook hygiene a lot. I remember, gosh, it was about 6 months ago. I had I got a cut on my toe, and whatever, I just kind of put a Band-Aid and to really pay attention to it. And man, oh man, within a few days, that thing started to develop a really bad infection. And it was just a simple, small cut that I had. And it really kind of brought attention to myself that, hey, I've got to prepare for those kind of things. I mean, during the Civil War, the amount of soldiers that died from small, little nicks and cuts here and there, it was just, unreal. And so hygiene, just having the ability to take care of, your teeth, just cleaning yourself, all those kind of things. A lot of people, they overlook when we have modern conveniences, clean water, all these things that we can keep that stuff in check, but it can get out of control really quick. So let's see, Nietzsche, you said I live really far up in Sweden. Because of that, all the lakes here are free from parasites and other bad stuff, which you can drink directly from the lake. Wow, I am jealous. That would be pretty awesome. So I'm sucking wind. I have my doubts that a CME would knock out the power. Yeah, that's not something I personally am concerned about. I think it's possible, but again, it's not something I feel like it's overly probable. Wake up now. Can you cover methods to make water safe for drinking from streams and how much water? Yeah, I've got a few video series. I have a playlist on water, and I've talked about, I think I have one specifically called, how to make, I forget the name of it, but something along the lines, how to make water safe for drinking. I've got some videos that cover that already, but, after you watch them, if you'd like to provide or say, hey, could you provide any clarification? Again, just, post that in the comments on the videos, and I'll work on that. So let's see. III, hey, greetings from Germany. Just wanted to say, nice channel. Thanks for the content. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad you enjoy it. So, Akeem Overstreet, do you have a car bug out bag? And let's see if you can make a video on that. I've got a vehicle, or I'm sorry, I've got a video. It was one of the first videos I did. It was about vehicle bags. I forget the name of the title, but if you go back in my history, I think it was one of the first 5 or 7 videos. I'll probably revise that. I mean, there was a lot that I didn't know back then, but even looking back, yeah, I would say it's about, it covers about 95% of what you would need to know. Andrew Young, have you ever considered forming your own meetup group? Yeah, I've thought about it. I know there's some in the Orange County area that are pretty good. There's some south of me, down in Escondido, that are really good. But I haven't thought about doing my own simply because of the amount of work. I run a company. I have employees. I stay busy with that. And then I have my YouTube channel, which is like a whole nother business. So the thought of, and then I'm a den leader in my son's Cub Scout group. And so the idea of having yet one more responsibility with just having a third child, that's a bit scary right now. So let me see. I'll wrap this thing up here in a minute. I know I'm kind of going on and on. So let's see. Let me look at some of these. Tech and Prep Network. I know my medical bag has some hygiene items in it and other things that are alternative for relieving ailments. Yeah, I mean, again, you just can't say enough about the medical side of prepping that a lot of times is overlooked. So, Mantavis, I'm mispronouncing your name. Matvydas. Hello, greetings from Lithuania. Wow, thank you for joining. I'm just about to wrap this up, but I hope you've been able to be on the whole time. So, Just a Lurker serves a good introduction to preparation. Yeah, absolutely agree with you 100% there. That's, again, one of the things that really helped me get kind of kicked off in prepping. And Isaac, you say, what kind of solid fuel do you recommend? We have a humid climate and thinking may not be able to store wood for a long time. Yeah, I grew up in East Texas, super humid. We stored wood all the time. I mean, you just have to keep it covered. But yeah, wood I think is a good idea as long as you can keep it dry, obviously. Let me do a few more here and then we'll wrap this up. I'm watching a lot of people leave. I know I've been going way over time. So that Scott guy, it's amazing that you have 3 kids and haven't heard of them. Was there a comment earlier? I'm not sure who you're referring to. If it's probably Dan TDM or one of the other YouTube channels, yeah, I have to hear about those all the time. Asteria Sharia, are you going to have another child? No, we just had our third about a month ago, so I think we're going to close shop down here pretty soon. I don't think I can handle anymore. Let's see. Beleaguered Castle, just watching your channel from France. Wow, thank you so much. That's awesome. I'm glad you're watching all the way from over there. Never been to France. I got as far as southern Austria. Almost went into Italy, but one day we'll get to France. Let's see. Delving lore live streams once a week would be great. Can we do more? Can we be more ready with more questions, concerns? Yeah, I think that's something a good idea. I would love to do more of these, and again, probably once a month at this point is definitely I could commit to that. I could probably put some questions before then and go through them. That might be a better idea. I might do a video. Thanks for that idea. I'll probably write that down to, have like some kind of some kind of a form people can fill out with questions, and then we can go over them at that time. So, all right. Well, guys, I think that's going to wrap it up. We're at, an hour and 10 minutes. Wow. So thanks so much for stopping in. I'll post this video up on my YouTube channel if anybody wants to watch it later. And so this has been a lot of fun for me. It's gone by a lot faster than I thought it would have. But let's do this in the future. I'll put together a format, and I'll put together some questions, or rather open up some kind of a survey that you can fill online so we can put together questions and talk about them at that time. But again, thank you so much to everybody for joining. And really enjoyed, again, just connecting with a lot of names that I see on a lot of my videos, a lot of subscriber names that I recognize, and it's always great to actually be able to touch base with y'all. So last one, let's see, Christy. Oh, hey, Christy. CP, thanks for your time. Be more than happy to hand over my food dehydrator. It's an Excalibur. Wow. Oh, well, thank you very much. That's a really nice offer on you. Shoot me an email on my about link, I think, in the on my on my channel. There's a link. It's called About. If you click on that, you can contact me via email. I think you actually live in this area. You mentioned on my video yesterday you recognized the area when I was driving my truck. So yeah, we'd love to connect with you on that and learn anything I can from you. Again, I'm new to dehydrating. If you know anything or have any skills, anybody out there, always post in the comments section. I learned so much from you guys. So yeah, look forward to the next live stream. So on that note, I'm actually going to shut this down. I keep saying I'm going to, but I can keep probably talking on and on here, and I don't want to bore you all. So thanks again to everybody for joining, and I'll look forward to hearing from you in the comments section on my future videos. And again, let's plan on doing this maybe once a month or so if y'all enjoy it. And again, I'll try to put together some surveys so y'all can post questions in advance so it'd be a little more organized. I apologize again if this was kind of a rambling video, but this is the first one I've done, and it's again just an opportunity to connect with the community. So thanks, everybody, and I'll catch you guys next time. So, as always, be safe out there.